Let's say hi to the licensed professional counselor, founder of the Brain Performance Center, Dr. Leigh Richardson. Welcome to Focus with Paul W. Smith, Doctor.
Thank you for having me.
I am a sucker for supplements. Is there a supplement that is helpful, useful, or maybe could be for our brain health?
Well, it's so interesting because if you put in your Google search bar, brain health, all that comes up is supplements. And it's so confusing.
Yes,
it really is.
Yes, it is.
It is. And I think that there are other things. I'm a big believer in supplements, and they do work. But, finding the right supplement for you, what does your blood work say you need, that's a little bit more complicated. But I think for stress, things like magnesium, we all know that magnesium is good. It's a good calm you down.
But the issue there is, and during the news break, I'm going to go and get, if I have them close by or in my briefcase, whatever, some of the vitamins that I currently have just started doing, and realizing that there are several different magnesiums, and they all have a different use. So we'll get into that a little later, or I will, just pointing out it is very confusing. But what can you suggest to all of us, supplements aside, to try to be healthy through a time like this? We still have 12 days to go.
Well, we do. And, it's interesting to me. Did you know there's an election stress disorder?
Well, I didn't know there was one, but I think many of us are suffering from it.
We absolutely are. But it is actually a disorder, and it's something that's been looked at. I can remember I saw a study that looked at the changes in mental health after the 2016 presidential election. Huh. And so it's something that we have felt, many of us have felt. I mean, there's almost a cycle. Every 4 years, I get an influx of clients that are anxious, they're depressed, they're frustrated, they're worried about the future. And it stems from the political election and the tension in their family and their friends. So, I think what we have to do, most people I talk to, they do a lot of intake of information. They'll start off their day watching the news, and they'll keep it going on their computer or some text. And I don't know that it's always with intent, but there's that free flow of information, and it keeps us in a hyper-aroused state. So my advice is, put some balance in there. If you want to listen to the news in the morning and in the evening for 15 minutes, great. And then ask yourself, is that enough? Because most times people find when they ask themselves, is that enough? Yeah, it is.
Well, I have to tell you, I've had plenty of psychiatrist and psychologist friends who I have quoted on this very radio show and my other show that have said to be the healthiest, don't watch the nightly news. But for those of us in my business, I have to watch everybody's nightly news. So I can only imagine how it's disrupting my life and affecting me. But the average person can't completely avoid the news. I mean, maybe they can, maybe they do. But the nightly news is just a recipe for turmoil, because it's, they used to say if it bleeds, it leads. They don't say that anymore, but it's true.
It is true, and I think that there are many people, just like yourself, that's part of your job. You need to have access to that information. So approach it from another viewpoint. Think about, why is all that news affecting my brain the way it is? Think about how the brain responds to uncertainty. Because our brain, we've evolved to think back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The first thing that we do, we got to have safety. We gotta be physically safe and mentally safe, have food. So when we get into that, brain gets into that uncertain state, it reacts, and it goes into that fight, flight, or freeze mode to start riding that roller coaster.
I suspect you would suggest, too, that we be very careful with social media, because it isn't controlled. There are no editors. There's nobody to make sure that what is being said on social media is true.
Very well said.
Doctor, we're going to talk to you again, I promise. Licensed professional counselor, founder of the Brain Performance Center, which I'd never heard of until just now, and I want to learn more about it. So we'll spend more time. Dr. Leigh Richardson. Thank you, Doctor.